Hello and welcome to this week's 3S motivational video. We want to start off today with an announcement of our new company merch store, which has been created in an effort to provide a greater resource for giving back to our employees who excel beyond normal expectations. The store uses our own company currency called NotCoin, which can be added to anyone's account at the request of leadership for employees they want to recognize. You can check out the store anytime to use your NotCoins to purchase awesome merch bearing the Quality Craft logo as a reminder of our appreciation for you. And also announcing the next addition to our game, which is designed to make paying attention to our metrics a little more fun, improve your quality score, and get more shots at the enemy. And now, introducing the Character Builder, where you can design your own personal avatar and upgrade it by getting treasure through eliminating enemy foes. Want special upgrades? Watch the 3S video and take the quiz to get the Cluster Bomb, with the potential to hit 3 targets with 1 shot. Just don't forget to enter your pin on the quiz form to claim this special ability. Now for a couple shared improvements. Finish improves their 3S checklist to include a step to check for sanding blocks and sponges to make sure they are stocked for the following workday, ensuring the team members in this area won't have to stop production to go looking for some. They also noticed that they didn't have home for masking tape near the spray booth operations, so they created a home close by to reduce the extra motion caused by acquiring some from a far out location. And in HDF, Jared improves the accuracy of the edge or guide fence. Because the edge guide was not perfectly parallel with the feed belt, it required the operator to put extensive force on the trailing end of the workpiece to make it run evenly through the machine. A long-time issue that people have just lived with, pretty much since the machine existed, thinking that it was just the way it is. Not so with Jared. His reaction? This bugs me. I'm going to fix it. With a little digging, he found how to adjust the guide and solve the issue once and for all. Thank you, Jared. You just removed a lot of struggling to make this process easier for the whole team. And now, on to the next part of our video series. Last week we discussed how important friends are, and how the strength of kindness is the foundation for all good friendships. Today, we'll dig into the next principle and the big secret of dealing with people. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Is criticism good? If so, when and how do we do it constructively? Listen to this.
I have spent the best years of my life giving people the lighter pleasures, helping them have a good time, and all I get is abuse, the existence of a hunted man. That's Al Capone speaking. Yes, America's most notorious public enemy, the most sinister gang leader who ever shot up Chicago. Capone didn't condemn himself. He actually regarded himself as a public benefactor, an unappreciated and misunderstood public benefactor. And so did Dutch Schultz before he crumpled up under gangster bullets in Newark. Dutch Schultz, one of New York's most notorious rats, said in a newspaper interview that he was a public benefactor, and he believed it. Few of the criminals regard themselves as bad men. They are just as human as you and I, so they rationalize, they explain. Most of them attempt by a form of reasoning, fallacious or logical, to justify their antisocial acts even to themselves, maintaining that they should never have been imprisoned at all. If Al Capone and the desperate men and women behind prison walls don't blame themselves for anything, what about the people with whom you and I come in contact? 99 times out of 100, people don't criticize themselves for anything, no matter how wrong it may be. Criticism is futile, because it puts a person on the defensive, and usually makes him strive to justify himself. Criticism is dangerous because it wounds a person's precious pride, hurts his sense of importance, and arouses resentment. B.F. Skinner, the world-famous psychologist, proved through his experiments that an animal rewarded for good behavior will learn much more rapidly and retain what it learns far more effectively than an animal punished for bad behavior. Later studies have shown that the same applies to humans. By criticizing, we do not make lasting changes and often incur resentment.
Abraham Lincoln started out his political career writing anonymous letters criticizing his opponents in a humorous and rhetorical way until he ended up barely escaping a life-and-death duel with one who he deeply offended. He learned a valuable lesson from his experience in how to properly deal with people. Never again did he write an insulting letter or ridicule anyone in public again. And from that time on, he rarely criticized anyone for anything. One of his favorite quotations was, "Judge not that you be not judged." When Mrs. Lincoln and others spoke harshly of the Southern people, Lincoln was known to reply, "Don't criticize them, they are just what we would be under similar circumstances." Benjamin Franklin, who was selected as America's first spokesman to the Allied nation of France due to his ability to win loyal friends, lived by his conviction to, quote, "I speak ill of no man, and speak all the good I know of everyone," end quote. So if we shouldn't criticize, how can we inspire someone to improve? First, we need to realize that criticism is not the same thing as discipline, or what may be referred to as constructive criticism and accountability. We all have room for improvement, and we simply can't do that if no one is ever willing to acknowledge and point out room for improvement. But becoming an expert at inspiring someone to improve without criticizing or discouraging them strengthens the character of the teacher and the student. In other words, it creates friends. This story from the book is a great example of how this can happen.
Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. "A great man shows his greatness," said Carlyle, "by the way he treats little men." Bob Hoover, a famous test pilot and frequent performer at air shows, was returning to his home in Los Angeles from an air show in San Diego. At 300 feet in the air, both engines suddenly stopped. By deft maneuvering, he managed to land the plane, but it was badly damaged, although nobody was hurt. Hoover's first act after the emergency landing was to inspect the airplane's fuel. Just as he suspected, the World War II propeller plane he'd been flying had been fueled with jet fuel rather than gasoline. Upon returning to the airport, he asked to see the mechanic who had serviced his airplane. The young man was sick with the agony of his mistake. Tears streamed down his face as Hoover approached. He had just caused the loss of a very expensive plane and could have caused the loss of 3 lives as well. You can imagine Hoover's anger. One could anticipate a tongue lashing that this proud and precise pilot would unleash for that carelessness. But Hoover didn't scold the mechanic. He didn't even criticize him. Instead, he put his big arm around the man's shoulder and said, "To show you I'm sure that you'll never do this again, I want you to service my F-51 tomorrow." Instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why they do what they do. That's a lot more profitable and intriguing than criticism, and it breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. As Dr. Johnson said, God himself, sir, does not propose to judge man until the end of his days. Why should you and I?
This mechanic made a mistake, but instead of seeing himself as a loser and walking away from his career due to his inadequacies, he was encouraged to improve himself in an inspirational way. You can also encourage growth while strengthening friendships and without criticizing. And we'll talk about that next week. That's it for now. Thanks for watching and have a great day.